Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Aspiring Women Speakers event with Cheuk. Let me introduce myself. First of all, my name is Abby. I work with the Aspiring Women Speakers and about 15 other communities, all of which are completely free for our members and run by RecWorks. So who are RecWorks? Well, we're a tech recruitment company with a massive difference. Obviously, as a company, we're always on the lookout for more clients, and some of our best clients have come from community members who recommended RecWorks to their internal talent team. So if you're hiring for a new team or you're working for a company that is, we would love to hear from you. If you want to know more about what we can offer on that side of things, just send me a message on LinkedIn or Slack. My name is, as you see it on the screen, and we'll take it from there. We'd love to have a chat. So what's the difference, I hear you ask? Well, also as a company, we really do believe that recruitment can be a force for good in the industry beyond just placing people in jobs. We have a particular focus on learning, mentoring, and personal development, and that's where all of our communities come into play. If people want to learn and others want to teach or share their knowledge, we are more than happy to connect you through our communities and events. We see this as giving back to those we've worked with in the past, but also paying it forward to those we hope to work with in the future. Earlier this year, we actually made our 5,000th introduction through our Meet a Mentor community. That does what it says on the tin. You can be a mentor or a mentee, and we connect you depending on your interests or topics that you want to discuss. And yeah, we're really excited about the amount of connections we've made there. We're looking forward to making our 6,000th connection there. As I've already said, we love to give opportunities for people to connect, and this event is part of that goal. Again, if you want to know more about any of our communities, get in touch with me on LinkedIn or Slack, and we can take it from there. Today's session is being recorded, and you will be able to find it on our YouTube channel. Excuse me. And I'll put the link to the channel in the chat for you, so you'll be able to access it easily once the recording's available. But with no further ado, over to you, Cheuk.
Hello. So welcome on board. So I'm so glad to be here, like speaking today. And so this talk, basically, I would just assume that like everybody is kind of maybe female in tech, maybe like, we kind of like feeling sometimes that, oh, we are not the majority of the mainstream. It's so difficult, especially like to join tech event and become a speaker. So also I assume people maybe like don't have too much speaking experience, or this kind of a tip for you to how to get started. For those of you who may be more experienced, like feel free to like kind of at the end, we may have time for a little bit of discussion, and it'll be great to be like hearing different tips from everybody. So first of all, this is, the first slide would usually have my name on it, and also my, contact information if you want to like maybe in the future discuss further. I kind of like this is supposed to be Twitter. I don't know why the logo has disappeared, but yeah, so like this is my Twitter handle. Feel free to DM me. I also have a YouTube channel that I'm doing some kind of videos and stuff. So this is also a very good way to practice your public speaking. So we can go in further in the detail about that later. So I'm Cheuk. I work for Anaconda. So for those of you who have like, kind of working in kind of like the Python space or in, data science space, you kind of, I hope you heard about us, Anaconda. So we are a distribution of a kind of Python with all the kind of tools that the data scientists would use in their work. So we kind of like distribute that as a package. We also start to have some cloud service recently. So definitely worth checking out if you are using that for work. So I also love open source projects. So one of my big tech career is kind of like get the help from the community, the open source community. So I'm so glad that I'm kind of working in that space right now. And also I love events. I also organize a lot of events, not just I involve in a lot of events. I go to a lot of conferences every month, if not weeks, so there will be some week that I'm staying at home, but there will be some week that I go to 2 or 3 places. That's crazy, right? But yeah, like I love that. I kind of fully enjoying that kind of lifestyle. So let's go back into our topic, our talk. So so if you haven't done it, like why do I want to start speaking publicly, especially if you're like working in tech? So why? Because I get a job, I do like, go to the office, do some coding, do some work, and then, and I'm fine. Like, why do I want to start speaking publicly? So let's talk about personal gain. I think a lot of people who kind of want to become a speaker, not just like because, oh, they love to speak. Of course, like we all love to speak, but there's also some benefit for you during your career as well. For example, if you are like working on some project, especially people in academia, they would have like spent a lot of time in their research, right? It's a very good opportunity to show your knowledge, just show that like all these effort that you put in a certain topic or certain expertise, they invest so much time to learn about it. So it's very good. Lots of times these kind of speaking opportunity, all the talks will be either given in person or remotely, like they'll be recorded. So it's also a very good kind of way of showing, for example, if you're applying for a new job, then you can kind of show that you have the expertise, you know what you're talking about, you're expert in that kind of field. It's really good. Build up credibility, again, like something you can put on your CV, say that you have speak and at a certain event, that you have that expertise. You're not just like, you can have proof that you're able, you have the knowledge in that field. Sometimes if you're expert in certain topics, like it's a very good chance for you to voice your opinion. Developers have a lot of opinions, right? Like, what's the best practice? What is like, what are you supposed to use? What test suite you should use? Like, even like grind to like smallest, like what, tool you should be using for that specific task. Like, why not like voice your opinion, right? Like if you have a good kind of insight about what is the best practice, just tell people, tell the world, like, why not? I mean, sharing is caring, right? So kind of maybe by giving a talk and sharing your opinion, you can help more kind of like developers to come, right? Like they're learning, so you're kind of helping them. And make friends. Again, if you voice out your opinion, there will be people who also like either agree or disagree. Through the conversation, you make new friends. I remember one year I was giving a lightning talk about how I don't like Windows 7 because at that time I was given a Windows 7 machine at my job and I totally like not liking it. And I'm giving like a lightning talk about how I don't like the operation system, how it's difficult for it to like be working together with Python and open source. And then by the time I sit down, there's someone tapping my shoulder and I turn around. That person show me his badge. It says Microsoft on it. And I was like sweating, right? Oh my God, I just like say how awful, Windows 7 was. But then we make good friends because he actually was really eager to listen to my struggle and what make it inconvenience for people like me. So we end up being good friends, which is like something amazing, right? So voice out your opinion, if the community is healthy environment, not a toxic environment, you have nice conversation. Even people like disagree, we all agree to disagree, right? We're like, why you disagree, this. We'll have, meaningful conversation if it's a healthy environment. That's the thing that we'll talk about later about how to find a good environment. Also, you can make it into your career. So right now, I'm so glad to be a developer advocate. So developer relations is kind of like a new field in tech, right? So I always explain to people that now you say that you work in developer relation. It's like you said that you're working in data science like 10 years ago. Everybody question about like what you do, like what's that title? What does it mean? Like what's your day-to-day life? So for my role as a developer advocate, a lot of, I won't say all, but a lot of my my day-to-day like work is involving giving presentation, like giving talks. So if you enjoy doing this, public speaking, well, you can develop a career out of it, which is great. Yes, a lot of people already chosen that path. It's kind of a new thing that more company are more aware that they would need that developer relation, so you can actually start a career in that field. My journey, I was a data scientist. I was very grateful that I found a job, in a kind of a reasonable sized company and working first as a data analyst, then I was promoted to a data scientist. And through that journey, I found a very supportive community. I found a local meetup that is called AI Club for Gender Minorities. Unfortunately, the meetup kind of closed down during the pandemic because, we are all disconnected because we can't gather anymore. But before, they are super supportive. by going there, I made a lot of friends, and we kind of decided to go to conferences together. So it's less scary, right? As someone who is new in tech, who is like, again, like minority in tech, that we are not mainstream. If you go to a room full of like, at a meetup, there's usually full of cis white male, which is like, sometimes you feel a bit like they may be nice people, but then like you feel, oh, I'm a little bit outcast. So so having a supportive community that like people like you can go to events together, that's really helpful. And also, so we have been to our first conference. I was enjoying it. The conference is also nice. So I tried submitting my first talk to the conference. And then if it got rejected, it's a very common thing. So, just try again, because during the conference, there's other organizers there that are promoting their conference, right? So, okay, I would try yours. So I submitted my talk to another conference. Then I was accepted, and starts there's like the ball keep rolling. I just keep going to more, just submit more proposals, and so at some point, right after certain years, then like I kind of I go to so much conference that I was having trouble keeping up my data science work. Then I was deciding that maybe I should find a job. But I was allowed to go do it, like to give talks and become part of my full-time job, and it's a developer advocate life for me. So of course we go through like the pandemic time, which is like no travel involved. I still give a lot of online talks, but I also start doing YouTube online things, which is also very exciting. But yeah, but that's my journey, and I hope that you can also start your speaker journey, and it will give you something amazing at the end as well. So that was the kind of personal thing, right? Let's talk about the community gain. So this is something that I recently get a little bit frustrated about. Because have you ever heard of the term manfans or manual? So yeah, of course, because it's a term that my friend and I invented. So what does it mean? It means that like conference or panel that consists of only cis white male. So it's a very non-diverse, totally like something that, against what I have been trying to advocate for in the community for a long time, that diversity and inclusion, right? We need to have like different opinions, different voices from different people. So I've tried like several times to talk with organizers. It's like, hey, this maybe not so nice. Maybe you should find some female speaker as well. And these are the excuses that I heard. I totally disagree. For example, the first one is like, oh, we're so hard to find female speaker because like, they may not be as good. We choose our speaker based on marriage, not gender. So all these good speakers so happen to be cis white male. We have to, our audience want to hear good talk. So they're all like these speakers that we chosen, like they're all males, right? It's really gutted when they heard it. It's awful to hear because, it as if speaker other than cis white male does not exist, which is not true. Female, or I just use the term female here, but it also include like other diversity like speakers that like it sounds like they're inferior if you say thing like that. Oh, well, we only choose like we binary choose, and so happen all of them are cis white male. And also it sounds like no one's interested in what like female speakers want to say. It's not true. It's just not true. And things are changing. Out of all these people that I've talked with, there are people, they're of course like people who like kind of they are our ally. They kind of help us. They agree and they try to change the culture as well. But there are people who are also like maybe it takes some time, after convincing them like again and again and again, and they start to maybe broaden up their view a little bit and try to get on this wave of tech community being more diverse and inclusive. So I hope today, after listening to this, you are there to prove them wrong, right? I'm sure that all of you have like different level of tech expertise. You can actually be a very good speaker and prove them wrong. So please, try to step out of your comfort zone, try to become a speaker and prove them wrong. Also, if you have allies, your colleague, your friends in the field, tell them to not participate in a manfans or manual. Like if they are a male speaker, cis white male speaker, if they already know that they have tons of them in the event already, maybe like kindly refuse, kindly reject, or suggest another female speaker. I do so. Again, like in another situation, I talk with a organizer and say like, hey, you need some female keynote speaker, basically. I tell the organizer very frankly, and he was like, oh, we already invited all the speaker, and that included one of my friend who is in the community, and so I kind of like, okay, keep me keep me posted. If you need female keynote speaker, I can give you a recommendation. And then later, I got the news that like my friend, who is like a male, a very, very popular male speaker, he kind of like, oh, I would suggest another speaker to you. And then he actively suggests another female speaker. So that's something that I think our airline need to do more, is to like, when they know that they have already a lot of speakers that are already, they like them, and they try to introduce other speakers like who are in the minorities into the group. So that's something that I think airline needs to do more. So now you know why you need to go out there and speak, start your tech speaker or tech like publicly speaking journey. So where to start, right? So you all want to know how do I get started? Sounds very scary. So first, I think the most important thing is to find a safe environment. Again, like your first speaking experience or your first few speaking experience is very important. Finding a safe environment is very important. So there are a few suggestions. Again, like what you feel comfortable with, it depends like on you. So even like some of the things I listed here may not apply to you. You may think that, oh, that's actually difficult to do. Then don't do it. Just find something that you think is the easiest. So first of all, like sometimes local meetup with supportive audience, that's very important. From like my community, like I work in Python field. So in Python, we have Pi ladies, always a very supportive audience, always, people very grateful about your talk and your presentation. So that's something you can start with. And in the small room, in a small like supportive space, you kind of feel more confident in doing it. But there's also others. For example, I kind of like, I'm in a city that I kind of difficult to find these meetup if they're not happening yet. So maybe some internal events at the workplace. I know a lot of places like some like my previous jobs, they have like, lunch and learn, or these things that you can give a presentation within your team, which is a smaller audience. But again, it needs to be a supportive environment. So if you don't feel comfortable presenting in front of your colleague, that's absolutely fine. Then sometimes this is like kind of volunteer thing that you do at the workplace. So maybe you can say that you're not ready yet. It's okay. But if you think that, I know my colleague very well, they are all very supportive, and it's only like a handful of them, I feel more safe presenting in front of them, maybe start with that, right? Also, make sure the communities support inclusion and diversity. Lots of events, they would be happy to have like speakers that are not cis white male. But then those communities, usually they would be happy to receive your proposal or receive your talk. And one thing definitely to check is to have a safe, have to have an effective code of conduct of that event. So make sure that, because again, being a speaker, you can put yourself out there, right? You kind of feel more vulnerable by like than just attending the event. So having a good code of conduct is very important to just make sure that, people are giving supportive commentary or constructive commentary. People are not like kind of, all these things that we know social media like was horrible for, like all these nasty comments and trolls, like make sure that it doesn't happen in that space. So code of conduct is very important. So some online events, they would accept recorded talks. So that for some of you that may feel more comfortable because you don't have to do it live, you can record it when you feel comfortable, and then you can redo it if you don't feel that you want to present that, you can do it again, and then until you have something that you think is comfortable presenting, then you can submit the talk. But again, it really depends on person, and also online environment. Again, it could be very uncontrolled, especially YouTube comments. I so far, luckily, because I haven't get that publicity, I don't get too many negative comments on videos, but that could happen at any time. It's the Wild West out there. So so if you're doing like things, for example, you kind of think that, I don't want to go through the event of submitting proposal process, maybe I'll just do my own thing in your social media, in your YouTube channel. That's also okay, but make sure that you protect yourself. Either you kind of now YouTube, you can disable the comment. That's also okay to do. Or you have to have the right mindset that, you know, don't take the comments too seriously. And even sometimes with that, it could also, you know, be very dangerous. So bear in mind, make sure that you kind of do your especially first speaking experience is in a safe environment. Finding a mentor, that's something that also very helpful. I think that I didn't have the mentor when I started, but I think something that is like very useful for speakers. I got lots of help from friends. I think that also kind of count as mentors. So there are different ways of finding a mentor. For example, we have a mentorship program in EuroPython, one of the event that I'm organizing every year. Recent year, I've introduced this mentorship program because, again, we want to encourage new speakers. So that's something that you can seek out for. I think the application this year is closed, unfortunately, but there may be other program out there that you could also seek for. If you don't do Python, of course, like maybe somewhere that could match your profile better, you can look for those as well. Or you can do it unofficially, you know, find a colleague or friend who maybe have more experience speaking, or even they don't, you can always ask for their opinion, right? You can maybe, oh, do you mind if I use you as a practice, right? I give you a talk, or like I give you a slide deck to have a look to see if it makes sense, right? So that could also be possible. As in a supportive community, sometimes, you know, there is no official program, but you may have to do one step further and ask in the community, like, hey, I have I'm giving a talk, you know, next week in my Lunch and Learn. I want someone to have a look. Do anybody have time to jump on a Zoom call with me so I can just give you a brief presentation and you can give me some comments, and make sure that it's a supportive community. So the person who is helping you is very supportive and genuinely want to help you, right? So that could also be possible. As far as I see, for example, my community that when I started with, that's definitely possible. And I think I've seen people do that as well, like asking for help and comments. So kind of, you know, get yourself ready. And then now you like have think about, okay, where can I give my first talk, right? So there are different ways to go for talks. So your first talk, I think the easiest way is to go for live stream talks. A lot of events, they would accept live stream talks, which is just a term for like small talks, right? So it's like 3 to 5 minutes. It's like really small. You don't need to spend lots of time in preparing it. You can just give a taste of how is it like to speak in front of people. It could be a very small topic. For example, some tools that I found last week that's very useful. I want more people to know about it. You can just like give a brief introduction about the tool, or we have done something very cool at work and we have, you know, that's how you do it, how to fix a problem, you know, just any small topics. Some events, even like you can give a live stream talk about something non-technical, right? So maybe something like, oh, I started meditation and it really helped me in my career, or help me focus, or something like that. So yeah, that could also be a live stream talk. So do look out for that. If you attend a tech event, seek out if there's possible to give a live stream talk, how to give a live stream talk. Like, for example, do you have to submit a form? Do you have to write your name down at the board when the event started? Or like, you know, just seek out, right? Ask, how can I submit a live stream talk, right? So usually these are, you know, less complicated. You don't have to write a whole proposal. You can just like write down your name and your idea, and then, you know, maybe briefly describe what you're going to talk about so the organizer can kind of select. Also, some events may also give priority to people who have never given a talk, right? You can also mention that I've never given a talk, I want to try it out. So, you know, usually if the organizers, they're supportive, they would give you a chance to give your talk. Again, think of either you like to give a recorded talk or live talk. Live talk also included like online live talk like this, or you can stand physically in front of people and give a live talk. I can't pick for you because I know that people have different like opinions about what. For me, I like speaking in front of people live. I love the interaction with people. So for me, I love in-person live talk. But I think for some of you, maybe you'd be like, oh, in front of people, I'm like so scared standing in front of people and they all stare at me and then I have to look them in the eyes and give a talk. So maybe recorded talk would be a good way to start. But for me, I think recorded, then I would kind of be more nitpicky and then because I don't want to listen to myself and it's like a little bit more difficult. So make your pick, you know, I can't say for everybody. And do not do live demos for your first talk, please. Live demo, I'm not saying that live demo is not a good thing. It's a good thing to do in a presentation sometimes, but try to avoid that in your first talk because there's always something that goes wrong in live demos. Even experienced speakers, they have all things prepared, they have tried many times. It's always something that goes wrong. Either like, or you're too nervous and make a typo or like so many things. So please do yourself a favor. Try not to, you know, attack the final boss at the beginning. Your first talk, make it simple, make it easy. If you want to do a demo, recorded it, right? Record it. You can even play the recording at the live presentation, right? So if you want to, I want to show something that's how it works, you know, record it on the screen and then, you know, play it. That's also acceptable. Not all the talks need to have live demos. So please consider that. And then maybe when you get more confident in the future, live demos can be fun. You know, if you kind of feel more confident and, I don't mind making some mistake. And then because I know the audience is supportive, they will help me, then it's fine. But, you know, first talk, new environment, no, like, please avoid that. And then what you can also do to kind of make it easier for yourself is to maybe you want to rehearse it with a mentor, a friend, you know, again, just ask like, whether you can jump, you know, even not physically, right? Like you can jump on a Zoom call for like half an hour just to, you know, see a talk, you can present with them, you can practice presenting in front of people, then you kind of feel that I've done it, it's fine, now I can do it again, like at the real deal, right? So so rehearse. Nowadays I don't have that much time to rehearse. A lot of time I just do it in my mind, go through the slides. But I think I know some kind of professionals, like, you know, people who are like working in developer advocate longer than me, they still rehearse their talk. So it's totally fine to do that if you have time, if you can find the friend to do it for you. So last thing is like, I really want to submit a proposal to my favorite event. Like, what am I going to do? So again, so not all the talks, like I think, for example, like lightning talk, a lot of times you don't have to submit proposal. If you, for example, smaller meetups, sometimes you can just talk to the organizer and then ask them like, I really want to give a talk, is about this. Do I have to submit a proposal? Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they will be like, yes, send us some basic details, right? So that would be less challenging because you kind of already have a verbal agreement with the organizers that they are going to let you give your talk, but they just want more details to put it in the event page or something like that, right? So that is not what I'm talking about here. So what I'm talking about here is like a proper call for proposal that, like, you know, bigger events like conferences, they would have a period of time, usually a few weeks. People can submit a proposal about what they want to talk about. So those are more difficult, but it's not too difficult. I'm going to go through it. First of all, do it before the deadline, always. Even though I know a lot of events, they usually have a soft deadline and a hard deadline. The soft deadline is that what they publish at the first place. They encourage people to submit early, and then later they will extend it. But please don't try your luck. Please do it before the soft deadline, the one that they publish. You know, if you put that as your goal, then you allow yourself plenty of time to prepare it. Don't submit it last day, because then you kind of like stress out and don't know what to do, especially if it's your first time. Also, if you want, you can draft it and then, you know, ask a friend again, like ask a friend or colleague who are more experienced, or even just have an extra like look at it to see if it makes sense. Then you have to have plenty of time for people to help you out. Also talk about something that you care about. If you submit a proposal, of course, sometimes like, I'm representing my company, right? It should be something that to represent my company. But I would say that the rule of thumb is like still try to relate to something that you care about, you're passionate about, because it would be a way better talk if you talk about things that you really care about. If it's something that you don't care about that much, then you know, you don't know what to talk about. It's kind of forced and it's not as easy. Sometimes, what you can talk about as the first thing that I found it quite easy for me to do is to talk about use case at work. So a few of my talk that I submitted, like when I first started it, a use case at work, like how we solve this problem and what open source tool do I use, and like, those are actually quite good topic because people want to know how you solve the problem, right? They may have the same problem at their work and they want to learn from you. So that would be a quite a good talk topic. Avoid sales pitch. Again, like you think, oh, my company give me money to go there. Maybe I should talk about something that, sell our product. A lot of conference, they don't like sales pitch. If you want to give a sales pitch, you have to be a sponsor, right? Give them money, then you can give your sales pitch. That's also fine. But even with that, right? Even the organizer let you give a sales pitch. It depends on the event. At a community run event, usually like sales pitch are not good, like not well received, because attendees going there want to connect with the community. They want to learn something and they don't want to listen to sales pitch, especially developers. We hate sales pitch, so no. But in a trade show, maybe like if you're convincing the manager to adopt your product, then maybe a sales pitch will work. But I think that since all of us are not technical sales, I assume, so we don't need sales pitch, so avoid that. Deliver the educational value. Again, use case will be a good thing because, people can learn from you. Or if you kind of, learn how to use this tool that's like new, right? Like, for example, I don't know, like, for example, the chat GPT, that, GPT-4, the newest one, and they're like, oh, actually, this is how you write a very good prompt to get your answer. Then, yeah, maybe like some educational value. Maybe you can explain like why this prompt is good because, the inner working of, I'm an AI expert, I'm explaining how this works. Then, yeah, that would be something that people love to listen because they want to learn. Yeah, so why should people attend? So also make sure you write that in your proposal. A lot of times, so sometimes the cover proposal will have a section that you filled in what audience of this talk should be. Are they advanced or beginners, or what do they learn from your talk, right? So you put that down. Even if they don't ask, also put that down in your description or whatever, because that's kind of convincing why people should attend your talk and why the organizers should adopt your talk, because this is what the audience will learn. Sometimes, again, in the form, they'll ask like whether you are a minority in tech. You can, of course, check that box and be honest and tell them who you are. Not your name, but like what you identify yourself as. But sometimes, the conference doesn't, then maybe in some kind of note or comment session that is not disclosed to everybody else, but only for the organizers, you can also mention that especially if you know that event want to adopt more diversity and inclusion, because first of all, the chance of you being accepted is increased because you are a minority in tech and they want more diverse speakers. The second thing I think is that, even if not, then I think also good for statistic, stuff. So why not? If they really don't care about that, then maybe that's not a very safe environment to go there anyway. So, so yeah, why not? And remember, it's very common to get your proposal rejected. I still got proposal rejected sometimes nowadays, haven't doing so many things. Sometimes I submit 3 proposals and they all got rejected. It could happen. So don't give up and try again. Again, like if you want to increase your chance getting accepted in your favorite event, maybe consider submitting more than one, cover different topics. So maybe sometimes not about you, right? It's not that they don't like you. It's that because that topic maybe is already over covered, like in the past year, they don't want the same topic, or there's millions of people giving the same topic, they have to pick one and that happened to be not you. So yeah, if you really want to go to that event because it's your favorite event, submit more than one, cover different topics, then maybe the other topic will get a better chance, so don't give up. And again, don't take rejection personally. Some events you can ask for comments, like, oh, you can ask for feedback about your proposal, why it got rejected. But I would say that at least half of the time it's not about you, it's just about whether that topic is, something that is interested or not, it's like, So yeah, just try again at another event. Maybe this audience don't want to hear that, but the other audience want to hear that. So, try again. That's the end of my whole presentation. I don't want to give it too long because I want some more time to have interaction, ask questions, to talk about different tips and tricks. So good luck, and I wish to see all your beautiful face sometime in other events. So yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Cheuk. I did notice, Carla, you put a question in the chat earlier. Did you want to go ahead and have a chat around what you were asking?
Partially answered. IT at least.
Sorry, Carla, I'm really struggling to hear you. Is that just me?
Better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's partially answered, and it had to do with finding someplace a little bit more accepting, because the last time I did it, nearly a year ago, I was at a conference, and was the RIP Reçu Internet, the DNS network policy governance body for the EU and beyond. And it's something of keen interest to me, but it's pretty much an all-male review. I mean, there's a few women there, but we're let's put it this way: we're hired by appearance and submissiveness, and not necessarily, and definitely at the bottom layer, not anywhere middle management or above. And I thought, I'm going into the lion's den here, but my talk got accepted. I gave the talk to all 4 people that showed up for it, because the organizers put a parallel talk in another room that was like the kind of technical talk that's like watching paint dry. And everyone went to that one, and I'm thinking, and I looked at the schedule, and no other talks had a parallel talk in a different room, and nobody was interested. I mean, there were basically 3 or 4 women in the room and one very courageous guy, and it was well received. They told me how much they loved it, how much they loved my delivery, all the good stuff. But it's like nobody came. So I'm thinking, yeah, I need to choose my organizations a little bit more carefully. And I am curious what kinds of organizations to look for, because in IT, I seem to be barking up the wrong tree a lot.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you have to go through that.
Oh, it's all right.
I also have like similar experience, but I would say that like there's a few thoughts on that, right? Like, first of all, I think a few years ago I heard about people giving lightning talks saying like, please support diversity, and if there's like parallel talks, then like try to go to the speaker, like especially for us, like we support our own kind, so we go to like a female speaker's talk if possible. But yeah, I think the problem that some conferences have is that like they are trying to change the culture, right? They're doing small steps. There's, we would invite some maybe diverse speakers, but then like it takes time for them to propagate that, right?
Yeah.
You may say that, the room was so empty, there's only a few people who attend my talk, but those are the people we should celebrate, right? They step out of what was tradition. Maybe last year they only have tech talks, they're all tech bros giving tech talks, right? Like this year it's a small step, it got changed, you got a few people that want to change and go there to support you, right? So it's something that we should kind of look at it maybe on a brighter side. But
okay.
at the same time, again, like I can't say for that, like you have to like really pay attention in the long run whether they are going in the right direction or they are not going in the right direction. So again, like if you feel comfortable, you can give feedback to the organizer saying that like, hey, that's that's how I feel. I hope that you're making things better, but I could, maybe you need to put more effort, and let's talk about how I can help, right? So yeah, I think that's a problem in tech. A lot of conference, nowadays I still like, I have chat with my co-organizer for other events, and then he was like, oh, but like, do we want to have like this speaker for keynote? I want someone who is more technical and stuff. Is like, do we want the conference to be 100% technical though? Like, 'cause sometimes tech conference is like for developer, of course, but then like developer not just care about how they code or what tool do they use to code, right? Sometimes they care about how to advance their career. Maybe some soft skills are more important, right? Like, and also maybe how to make the community more healthy, which is, again, diversity inclusion is important. How to maybe handle handle burnout, all these kind of mental challenge that we have every day, right? So that's things sometimes it got overlooked, if, again, like, especially when the organizers, they're all like kind of in a homogeneous kind of pool of people, right? Then they don't see that this is also topics that people will appreciate. And so sometimes it takes a long time for a conference to change their culture, to be like, oh, we are not just coding all the time. We also have all these speakers talk about this interesting thing that we care about. Like, for example, some conference, they when GDPR become a thing, then there's like, even we invite speakers who are like, experts in kind of more like legal kind of side of thing. They come and give a keynote because GDPR is a big thing. We should all care about it, right? Like all this stuff. So yeah, diversity doesn't come very easy, and it takes a long time. And so sometimes I would give the organizer benefit of the doubt, but I would again observe them long term. If they didn't want to change things, then maybe they didn't worth our support. So yeah,
sounds good. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions for Cheuk? Oh, we've got one from BC. Let me see.
Keynote speaker and a regular speaker. So keynote speaker, so in a bigger event, usually they have keynote speaker, which is a speaker that is in the spotlight, that is the highlight of the event. Usually their talk would be either at the beginning or at the end, sometimes in the middle, like after lunch as well. It depends. But what makes it different is that they would usually give them the biggest room that can host all the conference attendee to be there. So they're expecting all the conference attendee will attend the keynote talk. A regular talk, we don't use the term, but like other speakers, usually what happens is that a big conference, they will have multiple tracks. So there will be maybe 2 or 3 speakers speaking at the same time, but in different rooms. So usually they will be in smaller rooms. So there will be diverse type of topics, so people can choose which one they're interested in and go to. Again, if you kind of support, want to support this small but very supportive community, find a female speaker, find even like, maybe not as this white male speaker, then go to their talk. Sometimes, they could be technical as well. I mean, like, female speaker can also give very technical talk, but, supporting a minority speaker is also very important, I think. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute and ask. That's absolutely fine. Happy to be very informal at this point. So
I don't want to step on anyone else that might want to ask their first question and ask a second one. So is there anybody else? Okay. What I'm at the moment, I'm considering a career change. I've got another 10 good years left in me, at least. Maybe 20 if they we'll see. What are there any specific career tracks that one might follow if one is more interested in a speaking role full-time, rather than what one has been doing? I was an agile product owner for more years than I'd care to admit, and I'm thinking you're just doing something that I really love. What are the career tracks? What are the things? What are the search terms? What kind of organization should I look for that would hire somebody with, not only that would hire a woman with also a good amount of, seniority, MBA, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I can give you a brief kind of what I see in the developer relations kind of roles that I've experienced. I've been in like developer relations for like almost like this year will be work towards 4 years. So I'm not very green, but again, I'm not very senior in this field. So I can only like tell you what I've seen so far. Is that so it comes with a lot of different type of form, right? I know that, like, for example, if you kind of some people who come in, they may be like travel a lot like me, kind of but that is also a limit. Some people, they don't want to travel a lot because of the family or because of their own like situation. They don't want to travel a lot. There's also possibility because nowadays there is internet, and then after COVID, during COVID everybody was doing internet thing. So traveling was not an option at that time. So it kind of opened a lot of doors for people who want to work in developer relations but don't want to travel a lot, right? So you can still, so developer relations mainly just like you have to engage with the community, kind of become the bridge between your potential users and, which is like the community and the developers in the team, right? So this involve a lot of like go to a lot of events, give a lot of presentation, educational content, or sometimes nowadays, like my colleagues, you do a lot of like blogging, vlogging, YouTubing, whatever things. So so nowadays all these can be done with a lot of like online media kind of platform. So I think make your pick. Some people are okay with traveling, enjoy traveling, but for someone who travel a lot like me, I was like, sometimes it feels a little bit, kind of make you feel very tired physically. So you have to adjust. So that's one thing. Again, like nowadays, because of YouTube and other things, a lot of people are creating like educational things. So I don't know whether that is like educational content is definitely part of that realm, but it can be also be something like some online trainer who, like, if you love presenting, if you love giving courses and stuff, you can be an online trainer. There's a lot of company that are actually looking for people creating teaching material, because nowadays a lot of people who want to go in tech, they would need to find some online courses and stuff. So those also a possibility that if you love presenting, if you have a tech background, very senior tech background, you can maybe also consider becoming a trainer. So yeah, there are different possibilities right now, especially now with the help of online media. So yeah, that's something I think you can consider.
Brilliant, thank you.
I love all the knowledge we're getting from you today, Cheuk. I'm really interested. I love it. Does anybody else have any questions? We've had a lot of comments in the chat actually saying thank you so much. It's been really useful. So that's always good to know, isn't it? Anna, did you have a question?
I think I may. It kind of sparked the question, your kind of conversation, and the answer to the previous question is that from your experience or from your opinion, maybe, how much of, let's say, personality should you bring into your talks, into your like speak career? So I'm thinking, how do you need to pick your expertise and kind of like stick to that? Or is it okay to expand a bit? Is it okay a bit to add this like who you are kind of thing? And similarly on that, sorry, I'm kind of just trying to cram maybe two questions, but I think they're related. In terms of social media presence, like, yes, there are YouTube channels, there are Instagram, there's other things. Do you think it's important to keep the same image, let's say, as your speaker, or is it fine to have like two different aspects of your personality online and in like tech world when you want to present or speak about things?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because sometimes when you go like travel a lot and be in front of the community a lot, you can feel like a little bit of celebrity, right? In the community, maybe like in a small community, but you're kind of well known. So for me, social media wise, I kind of I do have multiple accounts. So the account I use the most actually is for work. So at that account, I kind of really restrictive in posting personal stuff there. I do use social media for personal stuff in the past, but now I tends to just use social media for work. So now like my account, my active account is my work account that I kind of a lot of things going on in the community, but not just work, not just like, for example, I work for Anaconda, I just not just post Anaconda thing, but I also posting about what happening in the Python community. If there's an event I want to help them promote, I will also retweet and stuff. So work related stuff, I would say. So kind of keep that like exposure in kind of more like my professional side of things. Personal thing, sometimes the boundary is a bit blurry, right? Because you have meet a lot of people in the community, you start become close, then you may expose a little bit of your personal life to them if you feel comfortable. But again, like I would limit it to be an offline thing, right? I don't want to expose too much of my personal life online because again, I'm very aware that internet can be a very dangerous place. So yeah, I tend to, for example, this is actually not my home. This is like green screen. So what you're seeing is actually a green screen, right? I also use that for my online, streaming video stuff. I try and, yeah. So do I create another personality? I don't have to. Some people create a persona, right? So it's like, hey, what's up, bro? On YouTube. I am not. I kind of like try to be authentic as I am. I just that not to talk too much of. It's like at work, right? If you go to the office, meet your colleague, you won't talk too much about your personal things unless you kind of know them very well and start to kind of go into friendship kind of zone. But yeah, so it's same applies to when I go to an event, when I go to a speaking online, all this stuff. Like I try to keep my professional side kind of like as if I go to the office all the time. Of course, you have to also be aware of your actions in the community. If the cancel culture is a thing, right? Like, sometimes I have to be careful of what I speak is politically correct. Sometimes, but I don't worry about too much. I think, again, I try to be a nice person, keep the authenticity. I don't, if I don't like about a product, I would be more frank about, I would just be not like just opinionated, right? Like opinionated with a good reason. Why I don't like it, why I try to be civilized, not just like, oh, I hate it because, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, does that answer the question? I don't know. Does it help?
I think it kind of does. Yeah, it's basically whatever you are at work, you kind of transfer to your speaking and your presence, because at work, it's okay to have an opinion and to say you don't like something or disagree, as long as you as long as you say why and there is a good reason for that, and it's not just because you're in a bad mood or something, or you don't like things for whichever reason. So yeah, I think it does. Thank you.
That's a really interesting point you just made, Cheuk, as well, about obviously taking yourself and your personality to work, but there is still some aspects that you keep private because that's what's appropriate for that environment. And I guess what you're saying is it's similar with speaking, isn't it? There are some things that are appropriate to just go all out about when you're speaking, and there are other things that actually do need to be kept closer to your chest because of whether it's right to share it in that particular place or not. Have I got that right? Did I understand you correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I do find there's this fine balance where it's good to bring a little bit of yourself. That's how people can remember you, and you get energy, and that's why we're all different. And I think it's much better that we are different. It's amazing. So there needs to be that thing a bit, but yeah, you obviously need to be mindful of your environment and what your audience is and stuff like that. Yeah. I think there's an interesting comment in the chat. Just trying to read.
Yeah.
A lot of women in tech feign a flat, lower pitch voice without the dynamic range that we find natural because we curb our wildness. Oh, I like that. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah. I sound like this today because I've had a cold. I normally am slightly higher pitched.
It's and I honestly don't know, because I'm also in a new country. I'm in a country where you know, it's, you know, women are trying to fit into a men's world, so they just kind of, they keep their emotions flat. And you know, and I understand their struggles, because when it comes to doing like extra unpaid work, when it comes to dealing with other people's emotions, we're told stuff like, oh, you understand people's emotions, you take care of that situation. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's
I do, but I don't want to be told that I do.
That's another interesting topic, because like femininity, right? Like it's a thing that's like struck a lot in tech world. I know a lot of like female developer, they try to look less feminine because they want to blend in first, and the second, like other like males in the community may get wrong idea if they look more feminine. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there's just kind of attract unwanted attention or unwanted, you know, potential harassment. So I feel that it's like really like it should not be a thing. Like it should be like, you know, developers should be themselves. Like they don't have to try to change how they look or how they behave to blend in. You know, it should not be a danger for female developer to be feminine, because, you know, like it's still is another topic that like we kind of like still struggle a lot every day, like, you know. So yeah, so sometimes I don't want to dive into it. It takes another hour to untangle this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly chip in on this one, because I think the answer to that is it depends. The most consultant answer ever, because I think it really depends on your team, on your company. And sometimes I see that being feminine actually helps, and sometimes maybe it's not. It depends who you talk to. It's just so not black and white that there isn't even an answer. And it's almost like get a play by ear, and similarly just read the room and understand what the rules are and how much of yourself you should be for whichever reason, if you care about the outcome of that or not. Just, yeah, very tangled, like cobweb of, it depends.
Indeed.
Yeah, again, like safe environment is very important. So kind of like, you know, we can be ourselves and feel safe and not have to worry about, you know, people stepping over and make you uncomfortable. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, my mom, who's long gone, but she was a group of like second wave feminists who made it safe for us to work in offices like outside of wartime. And you know, I really appreciate the contribution they made and the way they helped, you know, a new generation stand on their shoulders. But hell, you know, she wore pants, she cut her hair short, she was like more of a guy than the guys. Except when you got a couple of glasses of wine into it, and then she loosened up. But yeah, it's that's how she, you know, and I still struggle with that. And you're right, it's complex. But thank you for Anna for mentioning how situational it is, and you know, read the audience. It's one of the first rules.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that pretty much brings us to time for today's event. So all that is left for me to say is thank you so much, Cheuk, for coming and sharing some of what you know. It has been great to hear from you. And thank you to all of you who've joined me today, excuse me, and participated. We love some interaction on these events, so thank you so much for participating and putting your comments in the chat and asking questions and having that discussion. For anyone who's watching this online, I hope you found the event useful, and if you do want any more information from Cheuk, obviously just get in touch and she'll be able to share what else you need to know. That's great, and we really look forward to seeing you at our next Aspiring Women Speakers event when we hold that. So thank you so much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.